I'm starving. We ain't had nothing but maggoty bread for 3 stinking days.
Yeah. Why can't we have some meat?
They are not for eating.
Just a mouthful. A bit off the flank.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Chapter 1. Looks like Lord of the Rings spoilers is back on the menu, boys. This is Lord of the Rings spoilers.
Yeah. Why can't we have some
Boys
meat?
are back in town.
I'm honestly pretty cheery to be sitting here talking to you guys about Lord of the Rings Two Towers. This has been a much maligned, a lot of behind the scenes work and also toil behind this pod, but also a lot of people rooting for it to happen. So we did 6 parts for Fellowship of the Ring, and we're going to do 7 parts for the Two Towers, because what's better than 6? 7.
Big up.
7 is the amount of hosts we actually have on the pod. So let's go east to west and introduce everyone. And Brett, I think that starts with you.
That's me.
I do have a question for you, too.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. So where does the Two Towers fit in your just like ranking of Lord of the Rings movie canon? We've seen a lot of it. We've seen the animated movie. A lot of us have seen The Hobbits. But also within this trilogy, just like where is it?
I'd probably say, this is Brett recording from Fort Wayne. I would say this is probably my second favorite. The last hour of this movie is freaking insanely awesome. But yeah, it's probably my second favorite after the Fellowship.
Cool. Who's next? I think that moves over to Jordan.
Yeah, I think that's me.
Brother.
This is Jordan in Ypsilanti, Michigan. I would agree with Brett, actually. I like Fellowship the most, and then this would be my second favorite. Although I haven't seen the animated one, so I guess I can't speak to that.
Oh, top of the list.
Would have been a hard yes for me.
I'll go next. Mikey, recording from Goshen, Indiana. And I think I like this one the most because it has the most action, I think, towards the end. There's just such big set pieces, and they're all really awesome. So I like this one a lot. I remember this one probably the most.
Yeah, that Helm's Deep set piece is really, really awesome.
Hello, this is Stevie recording from Elkhart. This is probably my third favorite, with Return of the King being my absolute favorite, then Fellowship, then Two Towers. But honestly, I love this trilogy. And I was thinking about it. So Amazon's coming out with this new Lord of the Rings Universal show.
Yes.
I think there are 2 great spin-offs within this movie that could or should happen. One, Éomer needs his own movie. I absolutely love him. And the other spin-off that would be the Uruk on top of the rock who's pointing the sword at Helm's Deep. I think he'd have a great origin story. He started out as a small guy. People picked on him, worked his way to the top. Now he commands them. I think that'd be a great, great movie.
Rags to riches.
He was born a grown man.
I'm sure a grown man. I'm sure he was born 6'6", but most Uruks are 7'5". So
Yeah, he was chosen last in Orc gym class.
Exactly, and then he ended up becoming scrappy, and now he's the guy pointing the sword at the rock.
A true Rudy story.
Yeah, that's all I want.
All right, moving on over west. I think Pappy is next. And Pappy, do we need to pour some of that orc blood mead stuff into your gullet to get you to wake up?
It couldn't make me feel worse. My hands are sweaty. I told Mikey before, I want so much Tylenol I can't feel the tips of my fingers right now. It's insane, but I wouldn't miss this podcast for anything. This is Pappy recording from Louisville, Colorado. I would add to that too. I think another potential spinoff could be a Treebeard slam poetry hour. That could be kind of fun.
Oh my god!
It's gonna get 10 words out.
Spit some rhymes, but I think the great Lindsay Ellis said it best. Where Two Towers might be the weakest of the trilogy, but it's also my favorite of the trilogy, and it's the one that on a Sunday afternoon it'd be the one that would pop on the first one I would go to, but way better than anything in The Hobbit, obviously, or the animated series. Not even close.
And this is Corey recording out of Simi Valley, California. Pappy, if you're going to steal the Lindsay Ellis stuff, what do I really have to say here? Like, I might as well just go home.
I tagged you in that picture. I thought you would like it on Podcast Spoilers Instagram. Seemed right up your alley.
It is, actually. Believe it or not, I do like this movie more than the Hobbit trilogy, more than the animated movie. But in terms of ranking the actual Peter Jackson trilogy, I mean, it's really tough for me. I like them all a lot. I guess this one would be my least favorite, but I don't want to give the impression that I don't like it, because I do like it a lot. But pretty much the same as Stevie. I like Return of the King the best.
Let's go.
Josh, if you would like 2 and 3 for me are like a toss-up. If you would have asked me a couple years ago, I would have definitely said Two Towers is my least favorite of the 3. I might still say that. I don't know. This one's just fresh in my mind right now.
Brett's got to get his gravy in.
I love them all so much, though.
I'll also throw in that I've probably also seen Fellowship the most, though, out of all of them, and it's not my favorite. So, like,
This is Josh from Goshen, and I am your host tonight for Chapter 1 of 7, like I said earlier. I think I'm in that camp where Fellowship is my favorite, and then this one, then The King is the third of my favorite of those 3. And they're all pretty close. I do have Fellowship on a pedestal, kind of, in my own mind, but we talked about that last series. So let's get into the movie. To get into the movie, I think the best way is to first talk about timestamps. Now, two things about timestamps. First thing
That's the best thing about the movie.
if you're following along, my section, Chapter 1, is going to be roughly the 0-second mark to 30 minutes in the movie, roughly. And the second thing about timestamps is that they almost ended the pod for a second time.
Jeez.
2 years in a
I'd like to take this opportunity to formally apologize to you, Josh. You did the timestamps last year. I worked a little bit with you and a little bit with Steve to do the timestamps this year. But these fucking people, they're goddamn animals. All 5 of these hosts are just wild men with pitchforks and torches demanding timestamps. Like, they have to be perfect. It's insane.
Not me, Pap.
I'm not doing timestamps next year, no matter what.
I also want to point out that Josh once again gave himself the smallest section to host.
Again.
But Mikey, this is 6 times longer than it was last time, wasn't it?
exactly 6 times longer.
We all remember last year.
So it looks like he's doing more work, but he's really...
I'm pretty sure I did the timestamps last year, but I didn't get no credit for it.
You got a lot of guff.
Listen, if I had to take all the shit for it, I was going to take the credit for it. So this year, Pappy made timestamps, and just to reiterate, if we haven't said so already, we're only covering the extended editions. Maybe we'll get into a little bit about like the differences back and forth between extended and theatrical release, but I personally don't think that's that interesting and don't have much of that planned for this first chapter. But our other hosts will do what they please. So, Jordan, I wanted to toss this first question to you and ask you about the top billed actor and just what you thought of his performance. Bruce Alpress as Aldor.
Oh, you noticed that too on IMDb?
What the fuck are you? Why are you throwing this to me right now?
Who's
What the fuck
Aldor?
is Aldor?
He's, that old guy standing by the boy that has the good sword.
Why is he?
Like, Bruce, legend.
I don't have much to say about Bruce. I'm sorry. I can't bring much to the table on that.
No, so he's first billed. I think Peter Jackson did this just because of the A in his surname, Allpress. So Sean Astin is next and so forth. But what I will ask, and just throw this to the field, is we start this movie with a little bit of rewind, DVR rewind back to Gandalf's fight.
Previously on?
Yeah, and there's even a couple reused shots. I'll point that out as maybe a weakness right off the top. But Brett, especially you, I know that there's a lot of lore contained in this first 3 minutes of Gandalf fighting the Balrog as they fall and fall.
Yeah, but they don't get to the full fight until later. But yeah, I just listened to the book like 3 months ago, so it's pretty fresh. It's just, I don't know, it's very similar to what happens, except for the fact that like Gandalf is just completely blindsided when he finds out it's a Balrog at the very, very end. In this, he like knows what's awaiting him the whole time, which I don't know what you think would be cooler, because early on in the book he feels something and it jacks him up, like freaking jacks him up. I mentioned it in the last year's episode. I think the scene with the Balrog when he comes on the bridge and he does the whip, and it's like maybe like my favorite 30 seconds in cinema history. I think it's like the coolest thing ever. it's just I think it's a cool way to start the movie. I know like recycling, maybe not, but them flying down, it's so cool.
I totally forgot about him grabbing that sword like a superhero and stabbing him.
Dope.
As an old man, that was pretty awesome.
I heard on the director's commentary that the studio or Miramax put a lot of pressure on them to have another Galadriel, Kate Winslet voiceover intro. Josh, do you think that would have been better than a flashback? Sounds way worse.
No, I think that works just once at the very, very beginning of the trilogy, like they did it. I love jumping into like a cold scene of action here. Like, don't get me wrong. It was just like a little jarring to rewind chronologically as like the first movie takes place, just point A to point B, just straight up.
They handled it pretty well by making it like it's Frodo's dream, kind of, It's a good out.
True.
I think it's cool how they start the movie with like a panning shot of like this really, really cool shot of like snowy mountains, and then it kind of zooms in, and then you like start to hear a little bit of muffled talking, and then like the further it gets into the mountain, then it just gets really loud. I don't know. I thought that was, it's kind of jarring, but I thought it was kind of cool, kind of a hot cup of coffee in the morning type of thing to get you going.
Stevie, doesn't that strike you as something they almost like found in the editing to start this movie?
Yes. I think Peter Jackson and whoever he works with are just wonderful editors, because to me this almost just seems kind of like B-roll footage. Like, let's get some footage of mountains, valleys, rivers and lakes. And this is a really cool way of showing us, okay, we're in this, we're back in Middle Earth. Big mountains, big valleys, wide open plains, we're in this world, and it's a really cool way to say, and we're also in this world too. And it takes us into something that we're familiar with, and it's a great jumping off point. Because this was like one of the most striking points of Fellowship was Gandalf's, supposed death. And everyone's reaction is different, from Frodo wanting to run out there to Boromir having the sense to feel Frodo behind him and immediately grabbing him. Just a really great way to jump into this movie, and this sequence holds my favorite shot out of any of the Lord of the Rings movies, and that's when the cavern opens up with the Balrog and Gandalf both falling in flame.
It's really cool.
And it lights up the water, the cavern, and when you know how big the Balrog is, like to pull back that far and have it look like this tiny little flame is such a good choice. I love that.
I heard some complaining online too that it doesn't make sense how far they're falling, but
A whole mountain.
if you think about how much wilderness like a grizzly bear takes to like survive, like how much space
Yes.
does a demon need? It lives in like the mantle of the
This
earth.
is a skyscraper demon. He needs
How much space does a 20,000-pound wolf need? But I mean, Stevie, you brought up in the last the Fellowship pod about how like they felt like they needed to start it with a big like action set piece, and I feel like this movie does the same thing with like a quick shot of action. It kind of hooks you, and then we get back to like the journey. But I also wanted to ask, like, the dream that Frodo's having, is that because of the ring? Like, is that the ring trying to like fuck him up more?
I think it's just got bad vibes, bro.
Yeah, fair enough.
On a very unchill day.
Are you talking about like him saying? I just watched it, but him dreaming about Gandalf. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like he wakes with a start, and like the ring is fucking with him all movie.
Well, technically, he'd be able to know what's going on with Gandalf, but he'd have to like focus pretty hard because he can. I mean, Gandalf's got a ring of power, so he'd be able to see what's going on with him.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's why they're doing it. But
Gotcha.
Ooh, like he's sensing that somehow, but he just thinks it's a dream. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
possibly, yeah.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool. But Corey, you mentioned it earlier. Frodo does wake up with a start. Where are he and Sam, and can you kind of set up what this duo is going to do for the rest of the movie?
Yeah, they're climbing down a cliff face with a very thin rope that they received from Galadriel. It's them traveling to Mordor, and they don't really know what the fuck they're doing. Like, they can't navigate the land or anything, so you can tell they're, like, really struggling out there. It is a little bit lighthearted. They give us a joke, like, right away when Sam drops this little box that seems to have something valuable inside it, and it turns out it's just, like, spices from back in the Shire.
Salt. Just salt.
One thing I noticed on a rewatch, I wonder if you guys think this is interesting, is that all those jokes they make, there's that one about the salt, and then there's the one about how, like, the rope kind of falls down, and it's kind of like this deadpan moment because the elvish rope knows, like, to untie itself or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like Frodo relying on the elves to get him where he is. And it ultimately feeds into, like, why he has to ask Smeagol to lead them to Mordor, which sounds like the worst idea ever. Mikey, was that a good idea?
No, like Smeagol is like, he's just like playing his hand out in the open. He's like precious throughout his entire spiel. And it's like, okay, we get it. You want the ring. So Frodo is like, you want a job? You want to take us through the swamp or whatever? You want to get us to Mordor? I don't know.
They wouldn't have gotten through without him, though. That's kind of the catch-22.
But now is your chance to commit a murder free of charge out in the wilderness.
Your chance.
You got him tied up. He's a freak. He's obviously going to kill you in your sleep or something. Like, you can't really trust this guy.
True.
Since we're on the topic, like, what a phenomenal choice to do Andy Serkis and mocap at the time. Because this is like, this, Kylo, correct me if I'm wrong, this is like in between the prequel trilogy.
It is.
Right? Like, and we talked about like when we did those podcasts way back in the day, and maybe we'll do another one someday, like how sterile and gross those felt. Like, putting a mocap person in a real world at the time fucking works. And it works so goddamn well.
It still looks good, too.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jar Jar was like kind of mocapped in a way, but
he's first.
Not quite using the same technology as this. Like, he didn't have like the tennis ball thing. I think they just painted over him, actually. But yeah, I mean, I was really impressed at how good Gollum still looks. Like, it's great. And a lot of it's like the colors too. Like, you know, when he's in these environments that like he seems to blend well against.
Yeah, like he looks really good up against the rocks and stuff. Like he might not look as good walking through a forest and climbing a tree or whatever.
Can't wait for the new 4K edition to totally destroy the CGI in these movies.
I'm going to buy it. I love it.
Pappy, you're a businessman.
True.
You're like the one guy in the pod that's just real sly in business. Like, how does this work? Smeagol and like the hobbits, the words I wrote in my notes are fraught and tenuous. The relationship, they're like competitors. So, like, how does a relationship like this work when you are, like Mikey said, outwardly competing, but you have to join up for like a little while?
What were we watching? Isn't there a movie where they say the term like non-zero sum game, and it's like a big part of the movie? Arrival? Yeah. It's like that kind of scenario, right? Where I don't know. I guess Gollum is. I don't. It's more of like blackmail, I guess, even than that, though, right? Like Gollum is like sworn fealty to the ring, so I don't even know if it's kind of a collaboration as much as it is like a master subservient relationship, right? Like I don't think that Gollum. I feel like Gollum feels compelled to do what he does by the ring, and even like a little bit ahead in my chapter, even like when he saves Frodo, he doesn't really have a lot of like heart for saving Frodo. You know what I mean? He doesn't seem to care that he saved Frodo. He's just like, get out of the light. So I don't know. Do you see Gollum as being more like calculating?
Well, I feel like almost already right away, like 2 seconds after he makes the promise, the Gollum character versus Smeagol, because we're shown pretty early here that it's like one person split into two. Gollum's ready to stab him in the back immediately.
Yes. Yeah. I'd be sleeping with one eye open.
I guess. Very fraught, very tenuous is that situation. One other note I had was that Sam smells Smeagol before he arrives and thinks he's a bog. And then later they step in a bog, all within this first half an hour section. So I just love that. Moving along, plot B to our hobbits. Plot A in this movie are Aragorn, King of Men, Legolas, elf, and Gimli, the dwarf, and they're just running.
Run in.
Steal a horse. Steal 2 horses. Something.
Yeah, why aren't they on horses?
They did Gimli dirty in this movie. Because in the books, he is the best and fastest and best runner of all 3 of them.
What?
I gotta
So,
say, my memory of them chasing after the Uruk-hai is like Aragorn and Legolas like running really fast, and Gimli just like doing barrel rolls down a hill.
Doing the Maradona, just barrel rolling.
That only happens a little bit, but for some reason, like I just remember that being the whole journey, just like Gimli just rolling his way after him.
Well, yeah, because Viggo can like listen to the ground and look at the tracks and know exactly what the orcs are doing from a day away. And Legolas can see them from. What do your elves' eyes see, Legolas?
What are your elves'
That
eyes
seems
see?
racist.
And Gimli's superpower is like complaining from the rear,
Making
It's
jokes.
comedy. His superpower is comedy.
He can scrap though.
he is pretty funny, and I guess his extra's knee got like dislocated in these wide shots, so a lot of injuries during this movie. Maybe we'll talk more about that later. Brett, is there anything about them running, like the cinematography, that sticks out with you? Like, do you like these helicopter shots?
I think they work in this movie because I don't think they're like too overly done, and I just think anything you do and you put that music over is gonna look cool. I don't know if you guys like the tighter shots more or whatever. And I guess as long as they're, I know what you guys have said it before. Like when you use a helicopter shot, doesn't it kind of like immediately take you out of the movie? Haven't you said that before, Josh?
It makes you think of a helicopter,
Yeah.
I guess.
When I think of this franchise, I think of the helicopter shots a lot, honestly.
I will
Yeah.
say, when I initially saw these movies, Brett, I was not thinking helicopter at all. I was thinking, wow, Middle Earth looks awesome, and I want to go there.
They're like, New Zealand's pretty awesome, and I think they wanted to show it off.
This is one of those times that like do kind of agree with like the Kevin Smiths of the world, where it's like they're just like walking and running from place to place. It's weird, I really fucking love this part of the movie, and I think it looks good, but it did kind of take me out, and it's like it's kind of true, with like a few jokes thrown in about like just like how fast they're running when they get into like certain areas and stuff. It's just odd.
Like that doesn't, the jokes don't take me out as much as Orlando Bloom's terrible acting
Oh, yeah.
takes me out. Like, how do we feel about it? He's not good, right?
No.
They're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
I love them.
They run as if their very whips of the masters were behind them, or something.
Even when he's using his elves' eyes and like looking further, I just don't buy it.
No.
Looking intensifies.
And like when I was watching the director's commentary, the 2 writers and Peter Jackson went on, like right after the "What do your elven eyes see" line, like they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, about how good of an actor he is. I'm like, you guys are like defending him way too much right now. Like it's so transparent on what you're doing.
Do you think Elvives are going zzz, 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 like zooming in?
Got like predator vision.
Like Geordie LaForge contacts, yeah.
Well, speaking of signature looks of superiority, we got Chris Lee as Saruman. He's tearing down another forest. Spoiler in this movie.
Dude, this dude spends all his time fucking lighting fires, man. That's what he is about.
Get us up to date on Saruman and his plans.
He's just brewing up some more Uruk-hai, cooking them up, tearing down some trees. They're running out of trees. He's like, there's a whole forest right there, dumbass. You use that one.
Can someone explain to me how you make orcs?
The Uruk-hai, you mean?
Yeah.
2 parts
You gotta
wood.
wait until they're ripe, and then you pick them out of the ground.
Are they growing in the ground?
Kind of. They say something about
It's like a potato.
goblin men mixed with the trees, the magic of the trees, or something. I don't know.
It's really easy, Steve. All you have to do is just use the B-roll footage from Fellowship of the Ring, stick it in this movie, and you got some new orcs.
Oh man.
This is what didn't make it exactly.
That's a good question, Stevie. I don't know.
It's always bothered me. How do you make it? How do you make an Uruk? Like, I don't get it.
You're not a dark sorcerer, so you wouldn't get it.
I guess you're right. You're right.
As our trio that I was talking about earlier, they eventually stumble upon the lands of Rohan, and I think, like, I don't want to get too political here, but I think what Christopher Lee Saruman is trying to do here is very similar to maybe the Republican Party, where you want to tear down the environment, then trick the poor people into fighting the middle class.
Staunch.
Make Rohan great again.
There's a lot of tiki torch whites in this movie. Just
With the grimy old men, I mean, they're like giving him the land without having to work for it. So I think that's never mind.
oh boy.
I love you, Brett.
So, Stevie, you said you liked Éomer, and he always struck me as a little bit too like WWE almost for like he looks like Christian. Okay,
I forget the actor who plays him. What's his name?
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban.
He looks different. Like, you can't even tell it's the same dude in every freaking movie.
Yeah.
From like Éomer to Bones is stunning. But continue, Josh.
no, what I wanted you to do is set up him and like his immediate family, and we're in chapter 1 here, so like, yeah, Grima's like getting kind of his claw marks into you, the viewer, and he's already got him deep into Theoden King with like the glaze over eyes. But
Theoden King.
But set us up with the immediate family. Like, who are the characters here?
So, like, Grima Wormtongue is like Fox News, and Theoden's kind of like...
I thought, let's stop with this.
It's kind of like your parent that you used to be like, wow, super smart, and then all they do is watch Fox News now, and they become Theoden. But, so yeah, we have... Éomer is Theoden's nephew. Then we have Éowyn, who is his sister, which is Theoden's niece. And we don't know it yet, if I remember correctly. But actually, no, we do. Theoden's son has died. And so, pretty much once the son has died, Grima wants to go after Éowyn because he's super creepy, and she's one of the few attractive women in all of Middle-earth outside of Arwen. Which, great job, JR, naming them Arwen and Éowyn as the only two female characters.
Sauron and Saruman all over again.
Yeah, Gimli and Gamli. Come on, better than that.
That's right. There's a gambling.
There's a Gamli. It makes no sense, but yeah. So
Tom
Éomer,
Bombadil.
Well, he's smarter than all of us put together, so I think he had his reasons to do this. So,
Brett, I'm just being tongue-in-cheek, but
chin in cheek.
so Éomer gets banished from Rohan. I guess he's a threat. Grima tricked like seemingly smart people into going along with him. I don't get it.
That dude is so evil. Like, how'd they let him in the front door ever? You know, like,
Like it's one thing if he's like attractive.
Sir, take a bath before you
He's
enter
like
the kingdom.
he's like evil and slimy. It's weird.
Late
It's like, let's listen to this
is
guy.
the hour.
He is pretty tricky though. Like he almost gets Éowyn to like go along with him at one point when he's just like talking to her alone.
I noticed that everyone that follows Saruman has really bad teeth. So is this something
Bad
about
dental
dentistry?
yeah, the men of the East, like the wild men, they're the worst, dude. Like that's some scary shit.
No, the orcs have like the worst.
Is that what they're fighting for? Like universal healthcare?
Oh dear God.
Men of the East and the orcs all following Saruman. Like, that's
It
my
might be a
point.
little more expensive in Gondor, but their teeth are a lot better. So, you know, universal healthcare. I
Higher
think we just solved
taxes.
it right there.
Books, Brett. This whole like Rohan interesting isn't in the books, right? Like you just kind of like meet Rohan when they show up, like because we're here without any characters from the Fellowship, right?
Yeah. I think you just meet them kind of out in the road.
The Two Towers has like two vantage points. It's like at the beginning, it's Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli and what they're doing, and then after all that's finished, and they meet with Gandalf and they do their whole thing, the Battle of Helm's Deep. The second half of the book is just Frodo, Gollum, and Sam.
And all of the Rohan stuff, and that's all book 3, like nothing else. And I think there's two quick, interesting side things. One is in the books, he's a dick at first, but Éomer is like the coolest, one of the nicest guys in the whole book. He's so cool. And secondly, there's like a blood feud that erupts between Éomer and Gimli that I wish they would talk about in the movie.
Yeah.
Like he disses Galadriel, and Gimli has like the biggest I'm not even joking. He's got like the biggest boner for Galadriel. Like, he's like, I will kill you before this is over. And Éomer spends the rest of the book trying to get Gimli to not kill him. It's crazy how much he fell in love with Galadriel. Like, you think he is creepy in the movie. In the book, he's just like fawning over her. It's crazy.
A simp.
Yeah, he doesn't shut the fuck up about her. He's got those hairs, you know?
Yep, 3 hairs he gets from her. Something that's super creepy.
No.
He's probably always sniffing them.
We may have made this joke last time around, but I always assume they were pubic hairs. Anyway,
she's definitely smooth down there.
to finish out my segment, Pappy, your timestamp ended with the big, horse hoof hitting the ground, and I never really did like that shot. But
no, stupid.
The red sun rises. Blood has been spilled this night.
regardless, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, they're getting really close, but the orcs gotta stop for a quick breather. And again, we see another fraught, tenuous relationship between two different types of orcs here. This is where we get the classic line, when are we going to get some meats? We see a head lopped off. I mean, guys, this is classic Lord of the Rings. Just not, you don't need the son of men. You don't need the One Ring to rule them all. You just need a couple of orcs arguing with each other, and it's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
First of all, they look amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Uruk-hai especially. They look frightening, and they look real, and it's just extremely impressive. I mean, if there's ever a meme of this podcast, it looks like meat's back on the menu, boys, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Probably the best Merry and Pippin scene from the whole movie. It's kind of all downhill from here after this.
Yeah.
Do you, I know this is going a little ahead of my section, but do you like how neither of the hobbits, when they stumble upon Gandalf, call him by his name, so that when Aragorn stumbles upon him later, it's the first time Gandalf has heard that word uttered?
That's a good point.
Anyway, I might edit that out, Pappy, so you can talk about
Yeah,
that.
I have that in my notes. But.
Yeah. They're just like, hey, it's you.
What was Gandalf calling himself before then? He was just no name?
I am Saruman.
His brain was full of wonder and
space and time.
Happy thoughts. Like he wasn't even thinking about the past much.
He's so smug.
Gandalf the Grey.
I'm so sorry. I broke the cardinal rule of breaking this into chapters and slipping into Pappy's.
Yeah, good thing we had those timestamps figured out, so we'd be very clear on what specific section we'd be talking about.
All right, back to the Uruk-hai, though.
Wait, can we talk about Helm's Deep real quick? How awesome is that orc who blows himself up at the end?
Bro, the stairs sliding on a shield. Let's go.
Oh, God. Stop.
I get a little taken out of it with the Uruk-hai when they're like having full-on conversations with these hobbits here, and they're like, well, bro, you need to just shut up or else we're going to eat you. Why are you not just eating them? I'm not terrified of you. You're like, this is like an office talk right now. I don't know. Just seemed weird that they were holding them captive instead of just murdering them.
With their orders.
Yeah.
Not spoiled.
Yeah, but don't you think they would have like searched them for whatever they had?
I think the idea is like the regular orcs would probably do that or just kill them and not do what they're told because they fucking suck. But I think the Uruk-hai are supposed to be like more legit. Like they'll actually follow orders. Like they're
like Navy SEALs.
They're the Navy SEAls of shitty villains.
Orc Team 6.
Orc Team 6.
It works for his disadvantage, but I think the Uruk-hai here think that they might have a weapon that they wouldn't be able to like detect. They're going to take him to Saruman to frisk him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Saruman's told them specifically.
Yeah, I don't think
like
many of
it's
them
just
knew
like
what they were looking for. So
yeah,
Saruman's not going to tell him, hey, you have a super powerful ring. If you slip this on, you're going to be the most powerful being in Middle Earth. They'll probably obfuscate that a little bit. They have something. You need to bring it to me.
good OPSEC.
that's just since he was like kind of involved in a double cross. Like he wanted it, and the other people were supposed to bring them eventually. I don't know, timestamps.
Man, that's a lonely life that Saruman lives. Can't even bring his most close advisors into his true plans. But
He's got no boys.
I'll let you all into my true plans. I plan on making somebody the Lord of the Rings. And someone the Gollum again.
Oh dear.
Who was the Lord of the Rings last time?
Stevie.
It was me.
Yeah,
Stevie.
but you weren't in all 6, were you?
No, that's how good I was. I didn't have to be in all 6 to win.
You didn't lose any points, you mean?
Stevie, you had.
What's happening?
There's 6 of you fighting to be Lord of the Rings again. And since you are the current champ, I want you to set the order for this first trivia.
Oh.
Oh, man. Let's go. I'll go first.
Okay.
Then brother Jordan.
Okay.
Thanks.
Then Mikey,
Okay.
Corey, Brett, and Pappy.
I'm
That's
sick,
the order in reverse of how much he likes us, so.
and I did the timestamps. And I'm last.
Well, we'll see if there's an advantage to going first or last. We'll
That's
see.
what I thought. Yeah.
So here's what I got. I got 7 questions, okay? And Stevie, since you're first, you'll have the first crack at the first question. And it's worth 2 points if you get it right. You have to name which member of the Fellowship did X. So if you don't like your odds, you can push to the next question, but that will make it so you can only get 1 point. And then that first question will eventually be reused at some point. So someone else will get a chance at that. So Pappy, you may be stuck with Pappy is going to be stuck with a question at the end.
Okay.
But that's just kind of how this will work. Also, Pappy you only have a chance for a 2-pointer. Sorry about that, bud.
Is this book knowledge, Josh?
No. Basically, the only reason Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, is even famous is because the main character, Viggo Mortensen, broke 2 of his toes kicking a helmet during a scene in this movie. And
He did?
Wow.
Ugh.
And everyone knows that trivia. So what we're going to do is Lord of the Rings injuries trivia. You need to tell me which member of the Fellowship acquired said malady. So, Stevie, your first option is this. This member of the Fellowship gained weight and blamed it on the hobbit feet he had to wear.
Man.
Remember, you can push.
Do I name the actor?
You can name the actor or the character's name. I don't care.
Man, I feel like it's Billy. I mean, I feel like it's Sam, but I feel like I'm trying to say it's Billy. Let's just try Samwise. Samwise Gamgee.
Sean Astin gained weight and blamed it on having to sit around for, quote, 15 or 16 hours waiting
Let's go.
in the prosthetics. Good job. You got 2 points. That's a great start to becoming the next
Let's go.
Lord of the Rings.
He gained weight because he had to sit around for 16 hours one time.
No, like for a bunch of the shooting schedule, and then like when he was just sitting there, his only thing to really do is like watch and eat. So he'd just be eating. Jordan, this member of the Fellowship
brother.
suffered a few broken ribs after being thrown from a horse during the filming of this movie, Two Towers.
I'm gonna say that is Gimli, since he's riding double all the time.
It was his companion, Legolas Orlando Bloom.
Damn.
Mikey. And remember, you can push if you need to. This member of the Fellowship gained weight on set because he quit smoking in 2002.
I feel like that's Elijah Wood quit smoking. Say
The guess.
Elijah Wood.
Indeed, it is not. It is Sir Ian McKellen, Gandalf. Quit his smoking in 2002 during...
Why did you say indeed it is not? That doesn't make any sense.
Josh, that's why he said it would be a thing.
Backhanded response.
Do we get minus points for wrong answers?
No, you just are 0.
Okay, 0.
So Stevie 2, Joe 0, Mikey 0. Corey, this member of the Fellowship gained a black eye while he was trying to surf with 2 of the hobbits.
I'm going to say Aragorn.
It was Viggo Rockhard Mortensen. Good
What
job.
a legend.
Brett, remember, you still have the option to push if you don't like it for 2. This member of the Fellowship broke his finger while surfing.
I'm going to say Elijah Wood.
It was a hobbit, but it was Billy Boyd who played Pippin.
Happened.
Pappy, I'm afraid no one pushed, no one did anything cool, so you just get this last question. This member of the Fellowship chipped his tooth at Helm's Deep.
Well, we already said Aragorn, and we already said Legolas. So I'm going to go with Gimli.
Wait. I just want to let you know that this is not a list where we go like one by one.
Gimli.
It's not. It's Viggo Mortensen's trying to get you off the hook there. Liv Tyler would later say that he inspired us all because he tried to stay on set. Peter Jackson said, no, go to the doctor, you idiot. So that is chapter 1. In that first half an hour, boys, any last thoughts? Any last chance remarks here?
I just want to say I like how the Hobbit culture just revolves around food, and they were so jacked about this pinch of salt that Sam nearly killed Frodo for, almost dropped him down the mountain. And it's like, I complain when a video game kind of sucks, and they're like living and dying on this salt to put on this chicken that they're never going to find. It's like the best time that they have is just eating food. It's like good culture. I like that.
Well, nothing can dampen your spirits, Mikey, not even those rain clouds. Take it away, Spoiler Man. We'll come right back for chapter 2.
Spoiler Man here. Our Instagram is Podcast Spoilers. It's lit.
We don't have enough fuel to feed the fires.
The forest of Fangorn lies on our doorstep. Burn it.
Yeah.
That was Spoilers.